My guest today is a member of the Landmark Preservation Council and an architect here in Bartlesville with McCrory Ambler, Scott Lessman. Scott, welcome to Focus on Art.
Thank you, Barbara, and welcome to Bartlesville and welcome to the Price Tower.
Well, we're delighted to be here, and I guess we should just jump right in and talk a little bit about Price and Wright and how these two great men created this wonderful building.
Well, that would be a good place to start. Harold Price Sr., who built the Price Tower, founded the Price Company here in Bartlesville. They were a pipeline construction company. He started out as a welder and during World War II got into pipeline construction. The pipeline construction business was pretty lucrative for the Prices, and in the early 50s they started talking about building a building here in town. Mr. Price thought he wanted to build about a 3-story office building here in town. He knew it would be very important that this new building be an asset to his company, and he also felt it very important that it be an asset to the community. Both of his sons were students at the University of Oklahoma, where Bruce Goff was the head of the School of Architecture. And both sons were very interested in architecture, and they recommended that their father talk to Frank Lloyd Wright about designing this building. So Mr. Price took a trip down to Arizona with his son Joe, and they talked to Wright, and immediately Mr. Price was taken by Mr. Wright, and it wasn't long before Mr. Wright had convinced them that a high-rise building would be much more efficient than a 3-story office building. Actually, Mr. Wright, who was in his mid-80s by this time, knew that he was nearing the end of his career and that this might be his last chance to build this high-rise that he had always dreamed of building. He also felt that Bartlesville was the perfect place to build this high-rise, which he called the tree that escaped the crowded forest. He wanted this to be a tower on the prairie.
And he created a wonderful tower on the prairie. It's certainly a landmark not only for Bartlesville, but for all of northeastern Oklahoma.
As you can see from this view, it does appear to be on the prairie. Actually, there are a few other high-rises in town nowadays, more modern buildings. But this is my favorite angle of the building because you can see the horizontal fins which surround 3 sides of the building, and on this section of the building that's closest to us you can see the vertical fins. Up near the top of the building you can see balconies and terraces. Starting at the 16th floor is where the building begins to taper in. The quadrants of the building are cut back and removed beginning at the 16th floor, giving this beautiful tapered effect that we have near the top. The very top of the building, where you can see a tree up at the top, is a large balcony which was right off of Mr. Price's office, which is on the 19th floor. The only thing on the 19th floor is Mr. Price's office. It's a very small floor. As I said, the building tapers up, so by the time we get to the 19th, we don't have very much floor space.
Now, did Mr. Price have an apartment at the top of this building too, or just an office up there?
Only his office was on the 19th. The top apartment of the building, however, was kept by the Price Company as a company apartment for their out-of-town guests.
Okay. We might say while we're talking about that this building does have both apartments and office space planned into it.
This is true. And where the vertical louvers are, on this side of the building closest to us, is the section of the building that houses the apartments. The apartments and offices are more or less intermingled within the building. The horizontal fins surrounding the other sections of the floor are where the office sections of the building were.
Okay.
As we come down the building, you can see some small balconies projecting through these vertical fins. Those balconies are off of the apartments, and those balconies are actually in line with the rest of the building. This section of the building with the vertical fins is actually rotated 30 degrees from the rest of the building. The vertical wall that you see here is purely a curtain wall. It is not structural at all. The building is based on a structural system with the central core. From the central core we have 4 walls extending out in a pinwheel fashion.
Okay, we can see that both at the top and at the bottom, really. He's kind of pulled the building back to expose that structural part.
Exactly. At the top we have the 4 vertical fin walls exposed, and at the bottom we have them exposed, but all through the middle we have the building is surrounded by these curtain walls. By using a cantilevered structural system from these 4 walls, Wright had the freedom to give the exterior form of the building any form that he wanted to give it. And this allows the difference in elevations from the building. As you walk around the building, no two sides of the building are alike at all.
Well, it's a wonderful, creative masterpiece of a building. How did it work? Was it a success having the apartments and the offices together?
There were a few people that rented some offices in the building in the 50s after the building was finished and through the 60s. The only person that ever lived in the building for any length of time was architect Bruce Goff, who moved to Bartlesville after leaving the University of Oklahoma. He was the only person that actually lived and worked in the tower as Wright perceived people would do. However, in a town like Bartlesville, people just couldn't fathom living in a high-rise apartment building, I don't think.
Probably not in the 50s at least.
Exactly, and from what I hear, the rent was a little bit high too. So.
Okay.
However, there were a few people that rented offices, or rented apartments rather, in the building. Wright kind of dreamed of having a building where people would live and work in the same building. Building that building in Bartlesville just did not work. I call it a social experiment, and in Bartlesville it didn't work.
Maybe in New York City it would have been better.
That probably is true, yes.
Okay, Scott, anything else you want to mention while we have this wide angle view of the building, or are we ready to go inside?
Well, if you'd like to focus in on the lower part of the building, you can see that the floors kind of appear to hang out with no support at all. We may see that as we walk up a little bit closer to the building. You can walk underneath the floors. The cantilevers are up to 20 feet at some points, and you can walk underneath the floors and have 19 floors above you with nothing apparently supporting it. It's a little bit eerie, but beautiful at the same time.
Okay, I might ask you, how about the green on this building? What material is Wright used there?
All of the green that you see is copper, and it was sprayed with chemicals as it was erected on the building to make it turn green immediately. Wright did not want anyone to see the building in its natural copper state. He wanted to have the aged patina look.
Okay, well, let's head toward the building.
Okay.
Well, Scott, let's look first at this wonderful sundial.
Yes, this sundial was dedicated to Frank Lloyd Wright upon the completion of the building, given by the Prices. It's a very beautiful sundial, and Harold Price Jr. has an exact duplicate at his house, which Wright designed for him.
Now, right behind the sundial, we can see the entrance to the tower that was particularly for the people that lived in the building,
yes,
right?
there are two main entrances to the building. The one on the south here was for the people who lived in apartments, and they had carports over here specifically for them.
Okay, now as we begin to walk around towards the main entrance, or at least the entrance guests to the building would be using today,
Right.
I think this is a great place for us to look at the cantilever.
Here you can see the furthest point of cantilever in the building. It cantilevers over 20 feet, and you can see that there appears to be no support underneath this section of the building.
As a matter of fact, I think I'll stay on the red sidewalk.
Okay, the sidewalks and the concrete floors all through the building, in fact, are a color that Wright called Cherokee red. And as we walk up towards the entrance, you can see the carports over here, which were for the business office people. Over here, there's a two-story branch of the building, which now houses the Bartlesville Museum. Originally, those were the offices of the Public Service Company of Oklahoma. Around the entrance here, we can see scored in the concrete the diamond pattern, which is used to design the building. This pattern is scored on the floors through the entire building. It's a pattern of 60 and 30-degree angles. And near the entrance is Frank Lloyd Wright's signature. It was kind of his trademark
to put
a red tile in most of the buildings that he did, and especially later in his life.
Okay, wonderful.
So the building actually is signed by the architect.
All right, and here we are at the front door.
This is the front door. You can see it's not a grand entry, but it certainly serves its function.
Now, Scott, this is what we might call the front foyer for the building.
Yes, this is the main lobby, and you can see it's a two-story high space with a balcony from the second floor. On the wall here is a quote by Walt Whitman, who Frank Lloyd Wright greatly admired, and so did Mr. Price, and they both agreed to put this quote on the wall in the main entry. As we go through the lobby, we come over to a reception room. Originally, this room was a dress shop when the building was constructed. Barbara, this room was remodeled in 1979 to what you see today. As I said, it was a dress shop when the building was built. But in '79, the Price Company decided they needed a grander reception room, and they had Taliesin Architects, which is the firm that Frank Lloyd Wright founded, do the design for it. There was an artist at Taliesin at that time named Polly Lang who did this mural on the wall. It's called Willows and Reflection. It's a method called cloisonne.
Oh, and it's just gorgeous.
It is really beautiful, and this table is part of the mural. You can see that it reflects what you see on the wall. This is the reflection part of Willows in Reflection.
If we have some viewers that are not familiar with the term cloisonne, we might say that that's enamel and metal used together. In this particular case, it's copper and brass.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
The seating was built in also in '79. However, over here we have a chair that was original to the building and designed by Wright. It's very futuristic looking. The wastebasket beside it was also designed originally for the building.
Well, Wright actually designed all of the furniture that went into the building at the time it was open. Is that right?
This is true, and we do have some that we'll be able to see in a little bit.
Okay, well, you know, I think we always think of Wright as a very important architect, but sometimes we forget about his importance as a 20th century furniture designer.
That's right.
Have you sat in this chair?
Well, we're not really supposed to sit in it, but if you're nice, we might let you sit in it.
All right. Okay, now upstairs you have a small gallery space.
Yes, this space up here was originally a hairdresser shop, and we converted it into a photo gallery.
Okay, hairdressers and dress shop go together.
Yes.
And from beauty shop to art gallery.
Yes, Barbara. Over here, we have several drawings by Frank Lloyd Wright that we like to show to people who visit the tower and may be unfamiliar with some of his other designs.
One thing about looking at these, you can appreciate them really as beautiful drawings, even if you're not, you know, looking for the architectural content.
Mr. Wright was an artist as well as an architect, definitely.
I think you definitely have to say that.
Over here, we do have some more furniture, like we talked about downstairs. And go ahead and sit down in the chair, Barbara.
Oh, I really appreciate this.
You can see that the desk was designed specifically for the building. It's got the 60-degree angle so it can fit along that wall right there.
Even on the front, have the drawers here.
Yes. Like the building itself, there are very few, if any, 90-degree angles built into the furniture.
But now I have to admit, Scott, this chair is reasonably comfortable.
It's surprisingly comfortable.
And it was a surprise. Good choice of words there.
Over here we've got some more photographs. These photographs were taken by Joe Price, Harold's son. He documented the entire construction process, and he was an excellent photographer.
A photograph like this one right here in the middle, I think, gives us the feel for the fact that this is definitely a high-rise building.
It was the tallest building in Bartlesville at the time. It is no longer, but this photograph is the type of photograph that Wright loved to show of his buildings, with the vernacular architecture in the foreground and his architecture rising behind it. This photograph is one of my favorites. It really shows the cantilevered floors. There is seemingly no support of these floors. They just appear to be hanging in midair.
Well, if we have a viewer that didn't understand the idea of the cantilever, I think that photograph explains the whole thing.
It sure does. And then this is another excellent photograph. A lot of people in Bartlesville were a little bit unsure about this building while it was going up. They were just sure it was going to collapse. And you can see why. I would have loved to have seen it at that stage.
Absolutely, so would have I. But now I want to mention this photograph that's around the corner here because we have Price and Wright working together.
Yes, this is in Mr. Wright's office in Taliesin down in Arizona. They're looking at a drawing of the Price Tower. This is another photograph that Joe took.
I think it's just amazing that we have a man who's such a genius to begin with, who's still working in his 80s.
Yes, Mr. Wright was in his 80s at this time. His career had several ups and downs, and the end of his career was definitely an up. He was, well, you have to remember that he died only 3 years after the tower was constructed, and he was in his 90s then.
Wow. Well, let's head up in the tower.
Okay.
Well, this is a wonderful, complex, Wright type of space.
We're on the second floor mezzanine above the lobby where we first came into the building.
Okay.
As we walk around this little mezzanine, you can see that we're in the core of the tower right here. There are 4 elevator shafts surrounding us at this point, although only one of the elevators opens on this floor right here. And if you're ready for the ride of your life, this is the elevator that we're going to take up to the 19th floor.
Both of us at once?
Let's go.
Okay.
The 19th floor where we're going is where Mr. Price's office was, and it's a space that he just loved to spend time in and bring his clients to.
This is one of the floors that's open for people that visit the Price Tower for your tour, right?
Yes, we take tours up to the 19th floor, and then we walk down through the top 4 floors of the building.
All right, and we get to do that today too.
That's what we're going to do.
Okay. So this certainly is a tight-fitting elevator.
It is. You don't want to get more than 2 or 3 people in here, really.
Okay, we're out of here. Here we are on the 19th floor.
Yes. This is where Mr. Price spent many, many hours with his friends and clients. And this is all there is on the 19th floor, besides the small secretarial space, which is on the other side of the elevator.
Okay, well, we might just start here and look at this fireplace. This is wonderful.
Yes, this is actually a wood-burning fireplace. It's the only one in the building. And everything on it, from all the copper panels down to the way the logs stand on the grate, were designed by Wright.
He just didn't pass a single detail. Everything seems to be so important with him.
That's very true.
This chair's a little different than the one downstairs.
This one is different. It's one of a kind, and it was designed and built specifically for Mr. Price to sit here at his desk. It's the only one with the turquoise leather.
Okay, and the arms are a little different too.
Right. The desk, Mr. Price's desk, is built in, unlike the other furniture which was movable.
Okay.
And it's got a special copper design around the edge, and the copper panels on the side, which are stamped with the same design that we see on the exterior of the building.
Scott, we wouldn't want to leave this desk, I think, without showing our viewers Mr. Price himself, as he
Mr.
was
Price
sitting
happily
here
sitting at his desk, yes.
and enjoying being here on the 19th floor of
Yes.
the Price Tower. Also from this floor, if you look back past the desk, you can see that tree that we saw outside.
That is the same tree that we saw from the exterior view of the building.
Okay,
Yes.
and then finally on this floor, we probably want to point out the mural. Was this a Frank Lloyd Wright design?
No, this was not a Wright design, but it is original to the building, and it was designed by an artist who was working at Taliesin at the time the building was designed. It's glass, it consists of stained glass and mirrors and metal.
All right, now if we want to leave this building, we're going to walk downstairs or take the elevator again?
That's right. We'll take the stairs, I think. The only stairway of the building is an exterior fire exit stair.
Okay, well that'll give us a great view of Bartlesville.
Yes, it really will. Barbara, we're out on the open stairwell here now. Like I said, this is the only stairway in the building, which is one reason that it's not being used today. But
All right.
This is a beautiful open-air balcony. You get a great view of the Bartlesville Community Center, which Taliesin Architects designed.
So we have more than just one building at Bartlesville with Frank Lloyd Wright influence.
That's exactly right.
Now we're coming around here where we're looking
As you
off to
come
the
around
north.
here, you get a beautiful panorama of the city, and if you peek over the edge, you can see a terrace down on the 16th floor. And we're going to be visiting that terrace when we go down to that floor.
Now Scott, this 18th floor is not exactly like the other floors because the building tapers in.
That's right, Barbara. There are no office sections on this floor. We simply have this small lobby area, and then over here we have the apartment quadrant, which is the only full quadrant of this floor.
Okay, before we go to that apartment, let's stop and talk about this brass insignia here on the floor.
This is the Price Company logo, which Frank Lloyd Wright designed for the Price Company. And we find this on each floor in the direct center of the floor.
All right, so we've got 19 of these stacked one on top of the other. Okay, well, I'm really excited about seeing one of these apartments.
Right, okay. Right here there would have been a door to give the privacy from the lobby area.
Now this space is a bedroom.
Yes, this is the upper floor of the top apartment, which, as I mentioned before, the top apartment was kept by the Price Company for their out-of-town guests.
All right, and as we're in this, what seems to me like quite an adequate bedroom space.
Well, originally there were 2 bedrooms in this space, believe it or not. I don't know if you can see it, but there was a kind of a scar in the ceiling where there was a wooden partition to divide this into 2 bedrooms. And
then they would be more intimate bedrooms.
that's right. And then there were some wooden shutters on this balcony area over here that could close the bedrooms off from the living room, which is below us.
Okay, well, we're up here on this floor, and the ceiling isn't very high. It would be a good time to point out the light fixtures.
These recessed triangular light fixtures are used throughout the building.
Frank Lloyd Wright design, of course.
Yes.
Okay, now is this one of those little triangular balconies?
That's
that we're
right. You
looking
can
at?
see that this balcony that extends over the living room projects outside the building, forming a small triangular balcony, which we did see from the outside.
Okay, wonderful. It's amazing how all these things relate together. Well, now I suppose we should go over here and just kind of peek over the edge.
There is a very large living and dining area below with a beautiful wall of glass, which gives some nice views of the city beyond.
Oh, I'm sure this is just wonderful in the evening as well as in the daytime.
It is. I love giving nighttime tours to people.
And if you come back out here in the hall, make a left, and you come into one of the world's most interesting bathrooms.
Interesting and very efficiently designed. It's quite small, but I tell you, I would love to have a bathroom with windows like that were 18 floors up in the air.
You have certainly a wonderful view. And then we have the world's smallest bathtub.
Yeah, bathtub and shower combination. All designed by Wright for this building.
All right, now we come back out into the stairwell, and we'll go down to the first floor of this apartment.
It's a very steep and slippery stairwell, but there is a stair like this connecting the 2 floors of each apartment.
Then we come into this wonderful open space. Do we have another wood-burning fireplace here? No, this is gas.
No, this is a gas fireplace. Wright felt that it was quite significant that we use the natural resources of the area in heating and cooling this building. And he felt it important to include gas fireplaces.
And it's wonderfully decorated again with the copper.
It is. It's got the copper panel with the same design stamped into it that we saw outside.
Okay, and then the mural. This has Frank Lloyd Wright's name on it.
Yes, this is a mural that was designed and painted by Wright, and it has his signature in it. It's called the Blue Moon, and originally it had some built-in furnishings and actually a mirror that were part of the mural, but those have been removed.
Okay, and once again, the wonderful, wonderful views of downtown Bartlesville and the surrounding countryside.
Yes. Again, this is the living and dining area. This is the custom designed dining table. It's very interesting, and like the building itself, expresses the use of the cantilever.
And I noticed the copper again on that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. There's a really nice photo on the wall that shows this dining table in use when the building was completed.
Well, that's interesting. 5 people could actually.
Yes, and you see chairs of a similar design that we saw downstairs.
All right, and of course, right next to the dining room, we have a very efficient kitchen.
It was the most modern that it could be at the time this building was built.
Okay, with a built-in electric range.
Even a dishwasher.
Even a dishwasher. Well, I certainly would be happy to have that if I was living in this apartment. Okay, and this leaves us with only 1 floor to look at, Scott.
That's right. From here, we go down to the 16th floor, which was the Price Company Cafeteria. And it consists of a kitchen area and 3 large decks where the employees ate their lunches.
All right, let's take a look at that.
Barbara, this floor is unique among all the other floors. We still don't have any office areas on this floor, and rather we have 3 large dining terraces. This is one of the terraces over here. They're outdoors, open air completely, and they had outdoor furniture specifically designed for them.
And this was for the people that work for Price?
This was for the people that work for Price. This floor was more or less the employee cafeteria.
All right. And this is kind of a big elevator lobby.
This is the elevator core of the building again. And again, we have the brass insignia on the floor, which we find on each floor. As we said before, there are 4 elevators. We only see 3 of them right here in the elevator lobby. The 4th one was actually the apartment's private elevator, so it's behind the door to the apartment here. This is the next lower apartment from the one that we were in above.
All right. And then we go from the elevator lobby to the kitchen.
This is where the Price Company's Free lunch was prepared every day. They did provide a free lunch for the approximately 35 employees, and they would eat out on the dining terraces.
Oh, what a wonderful way to have lunch. And I have to admit to you, Scott, I'm not a real cook, but I think I could even enjoy cooking in here with the great view of the out-of-doors.
It is a nice view and very open feeling. One of the terraces is directly off of the kitchen here. The other two are off of the elevator lobby area.
All right, well, let's take a look at one of those.
Okay. Over here on the other side of the elevator lobby, we have a small indoor eating area for when the weather might not have been so nice.
And furniture once again designed for this particular area.
Yes, more of the furniture. It is all copper and with the patina green that we see on the exterior of the building.
It's just amazing to me how you could just tie every detail together.
That's true, and you can see the tables have the unusual design which fits right into some of the odd angled corners.
And of course, on a beautiful fall day like this one, this is the place that you definitely would want to have your lunch.
The weather's not always this nice for eating outdoors, but today would be really nice. These vertical fins could be rotated. There's a place where a hand crank was inserted. They weren't motorized, but they could be rotated to protect from certain winds or to protect from the sun.
Well, and in northeastern Oklahoma, protection from both the wind and the sun is important.
Yes, it is. And each of the three terraces also had a water fountain, which would provide just a cooling effect on those hotter days.
Plus, that nice rustle of moving water is kind of soothing.
The
Nice
sound
thing
of
there.
water gives you a cooling effect,
Right.
yes.
Nice for lunchtime. And of course, Scott, I think the view as you look up from this terrace is absolutely
It
spectacular.
really is. You can see some of the small balconies that were on some of the upper floors where we came down, and the tall spire.
What was the purpose of that spire?
Well, there really was no purpose. It was purely decorative to be the cap on the building. And it does have lights in it. It's beautiful at nighttime when it's all lit up.
And of course, just, I suppose, aesthetically, kind of the crowning vertical feel for this beautiful.
The crowning glory of the building, yes.
That's right. When we talked about a tree rising on the prairie, this is the point to which it rises.
That's true. And the building is truly an inspiration to architects all over the country, but especially to those of us here in Bartlesville.
Well, I can certainly understand that. Well, Scott, you've been so helpful, lots of information. We appreciate so much your being here for Focus on Art.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it.
We'll look forward to having you back again.
Okay.
For those of you at home, we appreciate your being with us as always for Focus on Art, and we'll look forward to having you back next time.